Beam me aboard. Energize.
Energizing.
Kirk to transporter room. Report.
You're listening to Transporter Room 3 with your hosts, Phil Perello and Scott Calora.
Welcome back, dear listeners, to the podcast equivalent to Halley's Comet, Transporter Room 3. Actually, to be fair to Halley's Comet, it comes around much more frequently than we do. What's happening, listeners? How we doing?
What's up?
Scott, how are you?
Good. All right.
You sound good. You sound excited to be here.
So do you, actually.
I am pumped. We haven't done this in a few weeks,
Yeah.
but which is good because we've just been like doing nothing but watching Star Trek and eating Cheetos. So now we have like permanent orange finger and a lot of Enterprise lines to quote.
Yeah, we've been watching Enterprise.
I've been watching Enterprise. I don't know what you've been watching.
You have been, right?
I have. I've legit.
Has Karen been watching it with you? Your girlfriend?
Karen, for those of you following at home, is my girlfriend, and we recently wrapped up Next Gen. She finally saw All Good Things for the first time, and she loved it. She unfortunately fell asleep during our first viewing of it, but that was late at night, and that was our fault. But she started to tear up at the poker game, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we were like, well, what are we going to watch now? We've watched everything else.
Was she weirded out by Picard's like short bathrobe thing that he goes running around in the hallway with?
No, she was a little bit uncomfortable with Worf and Troy like meeting.
Yeah, as were we all.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, she threw it.
So you guys you decided to go into Enterprise.
Yeah, because the thing is like you know, when you're on the computer all day, you don't want to get on it again to Netflix, and I don't have the connectors yet for my TV to hook up my computer, so whatever Star Trek DVDs I have, we grab.
Okay, all right.
And I have all of Enterprise.
Okay. So you guys have done you did Deep Space Nine and you did
Next Gen. You
did all 7 seasons of each?
All 7 of each.
Wow. And now you're in Enterprise will go by real quick, but you've only got 4 seasons, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think it's hitting Blu-ray soon, isn't it?
Yeah, which I guess is cool.
I guess, yeah. And
I watched the documentaries, that's it.
Yeah. And then the Michael, I actually had a Twitter exchange with Mike Akuda the other night.
What?
Because he tweeted something. It's not that impressive. I think he has less followers than I do, but which isn't saying much at all. But he tweeted something about that the next Fathom screening series for Next Generation is going to be Best of Both Worlds, and I was like, oh well, is it going to be both episodes, or because I was under the impression for some reason that it was going to be Yesterday's Enterprise and Best of Both Worlds Part 1, because it's a 3rd season event, but he said no, it's going to be Best of Both Worlds cut together as a feature, as one episode.
Yeah, I saw that, and that will have the commentary. The box set will not.
Okay.
So keep that in mind, because yeah, that's right. I'm buying both, bitches.
So the commentary will be on the commentary won't be on the box set?
The commentary will not be on the box set. The commentary will be on the single release. That's how they're going to get you to buy it. That's how they're getting me to buy it.
That's shitty, man.
Yep.
You shouldn't buy it.
Too late, man. It's happening.
Who's doing the commentary?
It's I believe it's
Ensign Shelby? Lieutenant Shelby?
It's the ghost of Michael Piller.
Lieutenant Shelby?
Yeah, it's Shelby.
If it was the ghost of Michael Piller, then I would buy it, actually.
They should... I'm
just saying, it's like, what level of creative are we talking about here?
It is... I know Shelby.
It's Okuda and his wife, and who?
Shelby is on it.
No.
Yeah, she is.
Really?
Yep, she is. Wow, it's already been reviewed.
Elizabeth Dennehy. Is it out already?
No, it doesn't come out until April.
Okay.
But no, it's Elizabeth Dennehy does the. She's on the commentary and someone else.
Brian Dennehy.
Brian Dennehy, yes, they bring Brian Dennehy to talk with his dog. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just cranky. Of course.
Did Brian Dennehy actually guest on Deep Space Nine once?
Did he?
All right,
I don't
I'm
think
breaking
so.
out. I'm breaking out the Google now.
Oh shit! This shit just got real.
Wait, hold on. Who was the dad on Family Affair? That wasn't Brian Dennehy,
No,
was it?
it wasn't.
Okay.
Also, I don't think I've ever seen Family Affair.
Okay, I just dated myself with the Family
A
Affair.
little bit,
reference.
no. No, special features include audio commentary with Cliff Bowl, the director,
Okay.
Elizabeth Dennehy, and of course Mike and Denise Okuda.
Okay. All right.
They're basically like glorified Trek librarians.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
The
I
best
wonder.
job
Like,
of the last 30 years.
are they on a, like they must like are they on a retaining fee or how does it work?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. You know what? He's always a pleasant fellow to interact with, and in the social media realm at least.
What were you guys
He's always,
chatting about?
Elizabeth Dennehy, pretty much.
Did he have nice things to say about her?
He has pictures to show, if you ask.
What type of pictures?
Well, you can't really get into it on a family podcast like this. No, we weren't chatting about anything. He tweeted about the best of both worlds thing, and it was unclear to me if it was just part 1 or part 2. And I asked him, and he confirmed it's going to be both parts cut together as a feature film. And
Wow.
I'm disappointed by that because I don't love the second part of Best of Both Worlds. It's fine, but I would much rather have seen yesterday's Enterprise on the big screen. So
Yeah, me too.
But,
I would like to see yesterday's Enterprise and those 2 episodes cut back to back. Which they can do. It's only like 2 and some hours.
Yeah.
Trek people pay for that shit.
Play less extra features if you need to.
Yeah.
If that's the issue.
Less, Okuda's big quagmire head.
No, come on, man. I have seen, and I might have mentioned this before, I have seen yesterday's Enterprise on the big screen, though. A long time ago, they did a thing at the Museum of Broadcast here in New York. They played some, I think if I remember correctly, I think for a week or so, they were playing different Next Generation episodes every day. And I went in with my buddies we went into the city. We weren't living there at the time.
Get out. And
we went into, they weren't Trekkies either. I just convinced them to go with me. And we were probably going out drinking afterwards or something. But we went to see yesterday's Enterprise. And I thought it was great. And they were kind of like, but I had promised them that it was going to be this like action-packed thing. And these guys are expecting like the Matrix or Star Wars thing or something. And they were like, that's not good. It's not action-packed. Those ships don't look real. And so everyone was disappointed except for me. I thought it was awesome. But
awesome, dude.
It is a 19. What year was that episode? 1988 or something? 89. It's like a
90 to. It was 90, right?
Yesterday's Enterprise.
Yes. No. Yeah, I think it was 90.
Okay, 90. All right. So.
Jesus, I'm old.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, you're right. So, 1990 TV budget doesn't necessarily look that great on the big screen, I guess. Now it'll be reformatted and everything polished up, so I guess it'll probably look better.
Right.
Anyway, so we digress. We haven't even gotten started on the things we planned on talking about.
No, but let's start, shall we? So, yes.
So, we're going to talk about, and I had put this out on Facebook today. We're going to spend the rest of the episode talking about Jadzia Dax's spots, right?
Of course. I've written a little ballad.
No, let's do this reader mail real quick. We'll save the Jadzia Dax spots for a future episode. Maybe that'll be our anniversary episode or something. but I wanted to do the real quick reader mail, listener mail from Ryan Sikorsky, He said, "I wondered if either of you have played the old adventure games of Star Trek. They are still in my mind the pinnacle of Star Trek gaming. I loved playing them as a kid on my old DOS 286 computer." And you know what? I gotta say, I've never been too big into the Star Trek video game thing, so I don't remember what he's talking about. Do you remember them, Phil?
No.
Star Trek, the Judgment Rights is one of them that he linked to. It's old series, original Kirk and Uhura and the gang, and then Star Trek 25th Anniversary was another old series one.
Yeah.
I don't remember those. I remember having the Star Trek. I had some Star Trek Next Generation PC games like back in like the late 90s, like when the PCs started to become a big thing, and those were pretty cool. I remember because you could kind of walk around on the it was like somehow they had scanned the bridge of the Enterprise D, and you could actually, it seemed like you could kind of walk around on a computerized version of the Enterprise D. But
that would be cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And then I had some of the CD-ROM like encyclopedias back in the day, which totally I don't know why, like I guess it was pre-Google or pre-Wikipedia. I don't you can get all that information at Memory Alpha, right? Like why do you need a CD-ROM? Okay, I just wanted to mention that because we've had a few people who have written in it to ask us about Star Trek video games, and I don't really, that was never really my thing for the most part, and it doesn't sound like it was yours either.
No, I mean I played the shit out of the very shitty NES Star Trek Next Generation game. Okay. And there was a Star Trek Original Series game that was so frustrating. I don't know why I kept playing it.
Right.
It was so annoying, and I even got the Deep Space Nine game. I was a sucker for any licensed game.
Yeah. I had one actually. I remember I did have one where you went on a. You know what? I think it was It was the Star Trek Generations video game, but it was somehow based on the movie where you'd wind up on like a Romulan bird of prey or a Klingon bird of prey outside the Sargassa array. Is that what it's called?
The Sargossa.
The Sargossa array, yeah. And I can remember like wandering around on it was either the Klingon or the Romulan ship, wandering around for hours, and the red alert chime just going on and on forever and ever, and eventually you just wanted to just self-destruct just to put an end to the sound effects that were blaring endlessly in your ears. But the new Star Trek game looks interesting for sure. The one that's coming, the one based on the Abrams universe.
Yeah, I was somewhere the other day where someone was playing it.
Really? Is it out? Is it actually out
No, it is not.
Oh, okay.
But I was somewhere where someone was playing it, and it did look kind of cool.
All right, so I guess you're important. Is that?
No, fuck no. If I was important, I would have been the someone playing it, not watching. But yeah, it looks cool. You get to like kind of adopt like the POV of the Enterprise and open fire on shit.
Yeah, and it's very actiony, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can't do like a courtroom episode of Star Trek as a video game.
That would be awesome. Measure Up Man as a
right. Measure Up Man. I'm gonna play as Rear Admiral. What's the judge's name? Picard's middle-aged old flame. Like
right. She says to Philippa, says to Picard,
right.
Makes that crack like bust a chair over my teeth. That's a bonus level. Picard has 1 minute to bust a certain number of chairs over her teeth in order for me to not go to Maddox.
So let's talk about let's move on. You want to talk about that comic, don't you?
Yeah, so new Star Trek comic has come out, the prequel comic Countdown to Darkness. And spoiler alert, I'm not just saying that to be clever and
yeah, this is
for real.
This is a spoiler for the comic, could be for the movie.
So you might want to earmuff or stop listening. But there's apparently 2 Enterprises.
Yeah.
Robert Aprils and Kirk.
fake Kirks.
According to the comic, Robert April's Enterprise was decommissioned 2 years before Kirk got his.
Right.
I don't buy it.
So that means that Kirk's Enterprise. That means that Robert April, his Enterprise was in service when Kirk was getting into bar fights.
Yep.
So, and just for anyone who doesn't know, although you absolutely should fucking know if you're listening to this, Robert April was the first captain. Prior to Pike, there was a guy named Robert April who was a captain who showed up actually in the animated series. And so they brought him back in the comic book, in this prequel comic at least. And now, of course, people are speculating that maybe Peter Weller is playing Robert April in the movie. I tend to think not, but who knows? Did you read you read the prequel comic to the first movie, right, Phil?
I did.
Where they, with Nero, I think it was.
And they explained that, his ship is like a fusion of Borg technology.
Okay. So it didn't really have any impact on the movie, though, did it?
Not really. Other than, like, you had a better understanding of Nero's background.
Right, okay. All right. So, the idea that characters in this prequel comic would then show up in the new movie, I tend to think it's unlikely, but there is this thing about there being two Enterprises, which doesn't really make sense. Well, I mean, I guess it's if this original Enterprise was designed and built after Nero disrupted the timeline, like when Kirk was born.
Yeah.
I guess it's possible. But I don't know. Seems odd. But it could be that of course, in the Super Bowl spot that we saw recently in the trailers, there's this ship that looks like the Enterprise crashing, right?
Right.
Maybe that's another Enterprise.
Maybe that's the alternate Enterprise.
Yeah, and you know what? They need an alternate Enterprise because, as you pointed out to me before we started recording, there's no fleet.
There is no
the whole
fleet.
Fleet's been wiped out. So
there's no fleet unless whatever time has passed between 1 and 2, they've decided to rebuild it all.
Right.
I saw a lot of ships warp off to become scrap metal.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And no one mourns. Who mourns for that fleet? Nobody.
No one. Oh,
No
but
one.
Vulcans destroyed. An entire fleet
Yeah.
of people that feel.
Older brothers, people who feel, family members, friends, colleagues, classmates, right? Uncles, pervy uncles. They're all dead now, and no one bats an eyelash, right? So, are you going to read the comic, the prequel comic? That I think this was the second issue that came out. I think, right?
I don't know if I'm gonna read it.
Yeah.
I'll read all the recaps about it though.
Okay. That's better than me. I won't even read the recaps.
No?
I don't know. You know what? I've never been a fan of this. I've never been a fan of translating things like Star Trek to comics form, Star Wars. None of those things really ever worked for me. I don't know why. So I'm not. First of all, who has the time, and secondly, I find it to be more of a cash in than anything else.
Okay.
So, but I don't know. That's probably totally unfair. As a matter of fact, it is. I know it's totally unfair to say. Without giving it a chance, I shouldn't be condemning it. So, let's just move on before I go real negative.
You got it, man. So we decided to talk about, instead of just one episode in particular, we want to talk about a very special group of episodes, and those are the pilots to the Star Trek shows. And we wanted to do like a sort of unofficial ranking of them, because having watched Broken Bow recently, and I've been talking with Scott a lot about, Emissary and Encounter Farpoint. Like, we just wanted to discuss the first episodes that kind of indoctrinated us into whatever series we spend the next 7 seasons with.
Yeah. So how many are there? How many pilots are there?
There's the Cage.
The Cage.
Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Right.
Encounter
I
at
guess
Farpoint.
I guess there's an animated one. I don't.
Yeah,
I, I,
I'd say we just count the live action and get into
yeah.
later, because
Yeah.
yeah, it's canon but not really. Um,
Yeah.
so the Cage, Gone Before, Encounter at
Far.
Farpoint,
Right.
Emissary, Caretaker,
Mm-hmm.
and then
And
Broken Bow.
Broken Bow. So 6 total.
6. Now,
And a lot of them are strong,
a lot of them are.
right?
I don't know about a lot. I don't know about
More.
a lot.
I would say more. I would say more than half. No, you don't agree?
More than half. I would say half are strong,
Okay.
and some are stronger than others. Like there are great, there are good to great parts in each.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comfortable calling Encounter at Farpoint the best.
No. Well, I am comfortable calling it the worst.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this, Scott? Why don't so we can maybe engage into some Siskel and Eberding. You give me your rankings, and I'll give you mine,
Okay.
and then we'll discuss.
Okay. I find it hard to rank them because I feel strongly about I feel strongly about several of them that they're good. I would say Where No Man Has Gone Before is my favorite, followed by Emissary, and then probably Caretaker and Broken Bow are like tied maybe for third place,
Okay.
and then then I guess The Cage, and then Encounter at Farpoint is my least favorite actually,
Wow.
which is I guess yeah, I'm going crazy with this one, I guess. I don't know. Well, what about you?
I'm gonna go not so much for my favorite, but I'm trying to like rate them in terms of quality.
Well, that's what I mean.
Well, yeah,
That's
I know that's what you were doing. I'm just trying to be like the dickish film critic nerd.
okay.
Just I want some friction. I want some Kirk and Spock season 1 friction between us, man.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
I think the best is Where No Man Has Gone Before,
Okay. Well, no friction so far.
followed by Broken Bow.
Okay.
And I know some people are going, what? Oh my God, maybe I just lost all my credibility. I definitely did using my high pitched voice. Then after that, I would say Emissary.
Okay.
I put Caretaker and Encounter at Farpoint toward the bottom and The Cage above them.
Ah. Okay. So, all right. Let's talk about Caretaker then, because I like Caretaker. What don't you like?
Again, it's been a while since I've seen it. I tried to watch it again last year. It is a great start. It's a really fun start. I love going into the Badlands after Tuvok. I love getting lost. I love picking up Paris. I love stopping over at DS9. It's just once we're on the set of the Waltons in space, and that annoying actress who seems to play that type of person. She was like the innkeeper of the bed and breakfast that Phil Connors stayed at in Groundhog Day.
Right. Phil Connors.
Right. I don't want to say
It is the same actress, isn't it?
it is the same actress. I don't want to say watching that then made me want to put a rail spike in my own head as much as it does now. But it's very close to feelings. Trek does this weird thing where when they try to bridge, they either bridge and blend in nicely modernity into their future stories, or they just kind of fucking push it on in, like they just throw it on the wall and see what sticks. And I feel like the latter was happening there. I don't. Why are we going to this very dangerous quadrant, this weird space telescope thing, to hang out and serve pie on a really sunny day somewhere in Southern California? That's supposed to be wherever the fuck this alien device is. I don't care about that. I don't care that my crew. I care that my crew is being confined and fed this bullshit Matrixy type dream. You know, But
well,
I don't know, man. It's just dull.
But I mean, how much of the episode is the Waltons part? It's not that much of it, is it?
They cross cut quite frequently to it. I mean, it's enough to be a staple enough of the plot. I just don't know. I just don't know if you have the first female captain, and the stakes are very high. Her crew is counting on her not just to get them home, but to get them through however many hours it takes to get back home.
Mm.
You know, there is no Starfleet to call on. There, you know, you get hurt, we can't just go to dry dock for a couple of days and have a nice little episode like Family. You know, we are literally a hair's breadth away from the abyss, and the only thing keeping us from falling over is each other. Well, and I just feel like if you're doing all that stuff, I need something more. I think that Janeway deserves a better launch than being trapped in a bed for almost an hour. Talking about pie. I mean,
trapped in a bed?
Yeah, she's in that weird fucking chamber, isn't she? Like, she's knocked out and incapacitated by the caretaker array.
Okay, I don't know. I haven't watched it in a while, I guess.
There's a reason for that, Scott.
I don't remember her being trapped in... I mean, I know they all are incapacitated, but I don't think there's that much screen time where she's incapacitated, but...
I could be wrong. If I am, I'm sure 1 or 8 of our readers will tell me.
Yeah,
all
eight
8
will tell us. Look, I like the... the problem, the big problem with Voyager for me is that I like the setup, and then I never felt like they followed through as well as they could on a lot of their initial ideas. But so Encounter Farpoint, Caretaker is all set up. So like this idea of like half the crew getting killed off in like the first 15 minutes or whatever is like, it's just like, wow, that's crazy. And the idea of the Caretaker, which ultimately Janeway has to make this choice, and of course, being Starfleet, she makes the right moral decision at the unfortunate circumstances that result for her crew, or
right.
They're trapped, and so it's like this this real heavy kind of decision that she has to make. I even like the stuff with and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I seeing where the characters went, but just looking at that one episode, I like the stuff with Kim and B'Elanna where they're trapped together, and it's sort of Kim is the straight-laced Starfleet guy, and she's the hard-edged rebel soldier or whatever she's supposed to be from the Maquis,
right?
And the way they have to kind of work together, and even the Waltons stuff where they're set on they're on the farm. I just think at the time it was a very off-putting place to put these familiar Starfleet characters. We're used to the spick and span Starfleet people, and to put them in that weird setting, I thought it was just an interesting concept. It's a little grating, I guess, especially after first viewing, but I still thought it was interesting, and even the idea of the caretaker, the fact that the caretaker is dying, and really ultimately Janeway can't even do anything. She can't help the thing, right?
Right.
I mean, so I don't know. I think it's like a lot of the Star Trek pilots. There's a lot of big ideas there, and it's executed well. It's done well. It looks good. They put money into it. That's kind of what I like about it. So, but the pilots, I think, the thing about pilots in general is they maybe, and you tell me, you would know better than I do, but are they easier to write because you are setting up these concepts that you don't necessarily have to pay everything off in one episode? You introduce Tom Paris, who's this rogue or whatever, but like you don't have to like follow through. I mean, you just it's all introduction in a way, right?
I mean, I've never gone past any point where I have to worry about the choices made in any pilots I've written, but they are easier until you realize you have to be accountable for the shit you set up.
Right.
I don't know. I just maybe I need to give a fresher watch to Caretaker. I think there's a reason why I just, it's not as good. It doesn't hit the same satisfying beats drama wise as, Where No Man Has Gone Before does. That is just a great episode of sci-fi television.
Yeah.
That is just very strong. The stakes are personal. Yeah. We get to know these characters, and it's fun. The Cage is very engaging. The very heady material there. It's a little off-putting. It's very intense at times. A little frightening, especially when they, I don't know, when that image they put in Pike's head of him melting or boiling or doing something,
Well, he's in hell.
He's in hell. Yeah. That's haunting shit.
Yeah.
It's not fun. That episode.
No.
There's
it's not.
The Wagon Train to the Stars implies some adventure, not Stanley Kubrick Star Trek to some extent,
Right. Yeah.
And all the pilots have in common, everyone yells. Why is that? Why is Star Trek seems to be guilty of that by and large? There's a lot of yelling of dialogue.
Yeah.
I started with Spock going, deflectors in full intensity.
Yeah, it's the Spock that feels emotion.
Yeah.
Right.
Why does everyone yell?
Where No Man Has Gone Before, I think also benefits from the fact that it's an hour long, or not even, it's a 45-minute long episode. Some of the pilots feel a little bloated. The ones that are because all the modern ones are basically 2 episodes combined, right?
Counter Farpoint feels bloated.
Counter Farpoint feels very bloated. Emissary, which I rewatched pretty recently, feels bloated at times also. There's some stuff there's nice character bits in it. Like there's this thing where O'Brien goes back to the Enterprise and he goes for a stroll on the bridge, and it's clearly they just shot a day when no one else was there, because it's like some extra you've never seen before is working on the bridge of the Enterprise, and he's looking at the ship for the last time because he's transferring to Deep Space Nine. But then Patrick Stewart comes in. He actually shows up in the transporter room, and to say goodbye to O'Brien, and he, as a matter of fact, he says transporter room 3. That's your favorite transporter room. Boom. Isn't it, Chief? Something like that. So there you go. And it's a nice character moment, but in the bigger sense of the episode, it's like almost like, well, maybe that could have been cut. You could have tightened the episode up a little bit. So I think maybe Where No Man Has Gone Before in particular works so well because it is a real tight adventure story. You figure out who these guys are really, really early on. They have this crisis. Before you know it, Kirk's got to deal with it. There's not too much bullshitting around about it, and also, of course, it's the first time that we're getting Kirk and Spock together, and that's such an iconic situation that's happening right before our eyes. It also has, we've talked about this before, but Where No Man Has Gone Before, it also has that kind of strange benefit of being a different version of the original show, because it has the older costumes from The Cage, kind of,
right,
and some of the set design is different, and the colors are more muted, and so it feels like a weird version of Star Trek, which is actually cool.
Kind of cool, yeah.
Now, what about, you just watched Broken Bow. I haven't seen it all that recently, but I remember it fairly well. Talk about that. You said that was maybe the second best in your estimation.
Yeah, in terms of just like overall story and the structure of it, there's a momentum to it that is kind of lacking from the other shows. Simply that, the other pods, if you think about it, they're kind of stationary. Yeah. They're either in orbit of something, or stuff is mostly happening to them, with the exception of, Emissary. They go after. They go into the wormhole and counter the wormhole aliens and come back and try to make things work on the station before the Cardassians come.
Right.
Counter at Farpoint. We're hanging out at Farpoint. we for 20 minutes, we outrun some weird arachnoid type looking grid. Remember that game? It's made out of the bar that you controlled in Arkanoid.
Made on your Commodore 64.
Yeah, or your NES. It was It's
And
made.
that's only.
It's made out of red and white. It's made out of very deadly red and white chiclets. No, it's made out
And
of
that's
the pegs from Battleship.
oh, and that's only after spending 20 minutes with Beverly Crusher buying silks down on
Right. Yeah,
at the
silks.
Farpoint Marketplace.
Yeah, please, please. And the voice of Cliff Jumper is the villain. The voice of the Transformer Cliff Jumper, whatever Sorn, whatever the fuck his name is. He has like Fraser Sorn or something like that.
The administrator. Really? Is that
Please, we need you no harm. So annoying. Grappler Zorn, excuse me. Grappler Zorn, by the way, that is a thing that exists. Grappler Zorn sounds like a Mad Maxian porno villain. Grappler Zorn, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, but Broken Bow, they're mobile. There's a mission.
Yeah.
The mission is a man, basically, to borrow from Saving Private Ryan. A Klingon gets hurt on Earth. Archer refuses to let the Vulcans keep them tied down when they got a brand spanking new warp ship in orbit called Enterprise.
Yeah.
He assembles a crew in 72 hours and agrees to get this man home. And of course, they lose their cargo. And they got to go find him on Rigel. And a really awesome action set piece happens.
Oh, yeah. The Rigel stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this rooftop action chase, and there's this really cool moment that I think it feels like it was an accident. Because I would think that because it's kind of cool, I would think like the director would have showcased it a little bit more. But a Suluban on the snowy covered roof slides, like standing up, does a little fucking foot slide into a firing position and opens fire with his ray gun. It's fucking awesome. Never caught it before. And also awesome, T'Pol rubs decontaminant jelly on her own boob. She physically gropes herself. I could not believe it made it. I had to rewind it, not because I'm a perv, but because I never noticed it before, and I can't believe it got on you again.
Yeah. Well, and that was all over the promo materials for the episode too. And that goes back to what I'm saying about these pilots setting things up that don't necessarily come to fruition, because the idea behind Enterprise was where it was at least sold as being a somewhat more mature series than the previous ones, right. And so it had this stuff with T'Pol and Trip rubbing each other. Excuse me. I can barely contain myself at the thought. Rubbing each other with the decontaminant gel or whatever. And the stuff on Rigel, there's like stuff about like slaves or something. Is there stuff with slaves in that episode, or there's something about the kid,
right?
The little kid they think they're letting the kid die, but actually it's like they're
weaning him off one form of breathing and getting him hooked onto oxygen.
Right. So it's like totally like just like idiot humankind like blundering into a situation.
It's a nice little beat.
Yeah, which is cool, and and it feels so. There were certain ideas being set up there which didn't necessarily pan out in the long term. I mean,
there's some great ideas being set up. The Temporal Cold War is by far the coolest idea any pilot presented, with the exception of being thrown 70 light years from home.
Right, and they really did nothing with it ultimately, right?
They did and they didn't. Yeah, I mean, we never learn who Mr. Future is, the mysterious shadowy figure.
See, I always felt that and I think others felt this way too, that it was ultimately going to turn out that the Temporal Cold War somehow was going to invalidate the entire run of the show, which would be kind of a weird thing to invalidate your own show, but that it never fit into the I felt Enterprise never really fit into the canon of Star Trek. The fact that there was this earlier Enterprise that we'd never heard about, and I might be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you know that show does not take place right before 100 years before Kirk.
Right.
Unless, Starfleet had a fire sale at some point and lost some pretty interesting tech.
Right.
And thought, hey, these touchscreens, screw them. Let's have jewels.
Another interesting idea about it was the way they handled the Vulcans, because when you hear the lineup of the cast, it's like, oh, another Vulcan science officer, more stuff. Like we've been there, done that. But this idea of there being this adversarial relationship between the humans and the Vulcans,
right.
That the Vulcans really didn't trust humankind to go out into space, and they were sort of like babysitting us. It's really actually pretty cool, and that is something I would say that they did see through to the end.
A lot
all
of
the way through
adversarial stuff.
The Admiral, what's his name?
Admiral Forrester.
Archer's. Yeah, he ultimately sacrifices himself, I believe, to save the Vulcan ambassador in one of the last episodes of the season of the show, I think, which is kind of a nice play, but it's like, this is what humans can do, and you know what, the Broken Bow also, I feel like it's the biggest of the pilots. I mean, it looks the most expensive. It almost looks like a feature at times. The Rigel stuff, this really very impressive, I think, for the time.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Encounter at Farpoint.
I've said all I can about that one.
I mean, the thing about Encounter at Farpoint was that we were getting our first Star Trek in how many years?
Yeah,
right? So
I would have waited longer.
So it was great. It was great to get Star Trek, and it was a very different Star Trek. But man, it was. I think it left a lot of people shrugging a little bit, and it really hasn't aged well at all.
No.
I mean, the first couple of seasons of that show really haven't aged well as the original series. If you ask me, the original series is less dated now in some ways than
for lack of a better word, the sparks between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, that the dynamic they have dramatically is feels way more relevant than a lot of the early Next Gen stuff. The personalities are much more relatable, much more realistic.
Yeah, for sure.
If you would have told me that Encounter at Farpoint would give way to a series that gave me There Are Four Lights, Locutus, Yesterday's Enterprise, Family, even, a lesser extent, one of the more underrated episodes, The Enemy. If you would have told me that show would have given me those shows, I'm like, F off, no way.
Yeah.
It's amazing, what they pulled together.
And I think have they talked about this in the extra features on the Blu-ray sets? I'm not sure, but the idea that the fact that it was syndicated really kind of, like, it might not have lasted. It might not have had the chance to give you a Locutus or a Family if it had been on a network.
Right.
But because of the arrangement that they had, they were able to continue to produce episodes, and because you couldn't blame a network for canceling the thing after Encounter at Farpoint.
Right. I mean, one of the least satisfying first episodes of a series gives way to one of the best episodes of television, the finale.
Yeah.
I mean, all good things. That's the next one, the best finales of Trek.
Best finales. I don't think I'll be able to talk about it without crying.
I'm crying right now. I need to go rest.
Well, maybe next time around we can do best finales. You guys listening, let us know if you'd like to hear us talk about that.
Yeah, let us know what your favorite pilots are, if you agree with our assessment, and let us know what finales are ones that you want to revisit at all times.
Yeah, and we like to hear from you guys on Twitter and in the comments section and by email and all, but a nice place to bring the conversation is to our Facebook page, because everyone can participate through the magic of Facebook. So So look for us on Facebook if you haven't already found us
It
there.
truly
and
is
let's talk
magic.
about it
It's
there.
fueled by Hogwarts shit.
Yeah. And then when you're done talking about Star Trek, you can look for all your ex-girlfriends and check out pictures of them and their the boyfriends who they eventually married who were better men than you. 'Cause that's what I usually do.
I guess that leaves me out.
Yeah. All my ex-girlfriends, by which I mean
No.
my that one girl from junior high who I talked to once. So
Awesome to have a girlfriend, by the way, who loves Star Trek as much as you do. I'm just saying.
yeah, man. Yeah.
That is a gift.
Yeah, really. Because you were talking, Phil, about, and we will do this eventually. You were talking about doing an episode of the podcast about how you can indoctrinate your friends into becoming Trek fans. How you can introduce people to Star Trek.
Right. It's a foolproof system. You show them Thine Own Self first from TNG. Where David loses his mind in some weird medieval-looking culture that has anvils and mustaches. That one never fails to get them knee-deep in Trek. Then you follow it with not one, not two, but 3 screenings of Final Frontier.
Right. So that's what we'll talk about one of these days as well. That's actually not how you indoctrinate friends into Star Trek. That's how you lose all your friends. The methods.
Oh wait, now you tell me? Shit. I've had a good run.
But all right, let's do our red shirt of the week and.
Yeah, I think we just talked about interesting topics that were more interesting than the topic we just talked about. Readers, listeners, let us know on Facebook. Red shirt.
We take this time to remember those who have laid their lives down for Starfleet. This is the Red Shirt of the Week.
I gotta go. I want to go for the fleet, because clearly 90% of those ships were crewed by red shirts. They didn't stand a chance against the Narada.
Yeah.
An entire fleet could not take out the Narada, but Crims Hemsworth on a suicide run could, and the Enterprise could.
Don't forget that it is Thor, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, but that was like a little chubbier version of Thor.
What?
He had his West Point haircut. He didn't look as trim as he does now. He's not as buff, obviously, because, back then he was just George Kirk, replacement captain.
So can we put a number on the amount of casualties?
A lot.
I mean, this is this is maybe the biggest red shirt tally we've ever done.
Yeah,
right?
it's near genocide levels.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like
Wolf 359 levels.
I kind of want to see the Starship Troopers-esque news report tallying up all the dead. Would you like to know more? Yeah, so the red shirt of the week is all those goddamn crew members. Which, I mean, on a serious note, it would have been kind of cool because, I mean, Star Trek 2009 touches on a lot of good emotional beats, right? It would have been kind of cool for them to address the loss of the fleet. Yeah. Someone had a friend on there. Who's the poor bastard who got a Uhura spot on the Farragut?
Right.
They don't touch on that. Like, oh shit, I used favoritism to get aboard this ship.
Right.
And someone died for it.
Yeah. Things have to happen too fast. It's too whiz-bang for that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So that's the red shirt of the week. Next week we'll have one.
Red shirts.
Red shirts, plural. That's the entire wardrobe. Next time around, we'll have a good one.
That's when they decided to switch to the burgundy tunics.
Oh, speaking of, one last thing. Speaking of red shirts, little news report this week.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to crack into some Cliff Clavin trivia on you.
Wow, man.
According to the most reliable source of information, the interwebs, someone They actually sat down and crunched the numbers to determine if indeed red shirts are the most deadly color of tunic to wear in Star Trek. And it turns out the most dangerous color to wear on the Enterprise is actually gold. During Star Trek, the original series, 3 seasons, there were 24 red shirt deaths, 9 gold shirt deaths, and 7 blue shirt deaths. So that means that 24 red shirts died, which is more.
But it's like it has to do with the isn't it per like a percentage in terms of like there's X amount of.
Yeah, there are more red guys to begin with than there are golden.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because there's more people wearing red shirts.
Right.
So percentage-wise.
Little over 13% of gold shirts died, whereas 10% of red shirts died.
But isn't there also a statistic in there about if you're actually there's red shirts like Scotty, who are engineering guys, but then there's a red shirt who is security, right? Doesn't it go up substantially if you're
the security guy is effed. I mean, his HMOs are up the roof. But yeah, it sucks.
It was like 70. I don't remember. I have it in front of me, but I think it was like if you're security, your chances of death went up to like 70% or something. Right. So can you imagine what it's like to be in those ranks? Like, it's probably like that Battlestar Galactica episode when whenever the Nuggets came in, the new pilots would come in, and it was like they basically, all the veteran pilots were just like, yeah, you're probably not going to make it through like the next 2 or 3 days. Like, you're dead.
Yeah, I would, if you handed me a red tunic, I'm handing it right back to you. I'd rather serve bar on K7.
Yeah. Can't I work at Sarah Glofton's coffee shop in Burbank?
Which, David, if you're listening, it's on, sir. We will make that happen. I promise.
You gotta explain what you're talking about. That doesn't. That sounds like.
You'd have to revisit a few episodes back, our holiday edition. One of our listeners, David, did a very nice, generous thing for me, and I've been trying to free up some time from my crazy, fun schedule to have a coffee with him as a thank you. And we're gonna make that happen because I'm a good person.
Well, he's a better person. He's the one who bought you a ticket.
That's right.
So.
He is a better person. He also has a better singing voice.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
It's a pleasure to talk to you.
You guys let us know what you want to hear us talk about next time around.
Do it or else. Hit us up on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Until then, we'll see you on Gravette Island.